And we're ready. Okay, we are live now. Welcome everyone. We are live on Facebook for Readers Magnet. This is their story festival, Storytellers Festival, and we are speaking about Latin writers and their impact in our culture. And I would just like to welcome everybody to this round
Welcome
table.
to the
Carmen
Festival of
Davenport is
Storytellers.
here, as well as Yareni and Leticia Cervantes, Amori, bookstore owner.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher. It is about us, the authors.
Hear me. I think we were on mute there for a minute. I wanted to welcome everyone. We are beginning our Storytellers Festival. This is the Rhythm of Latin session, and we have very exciting topics to talk about. Leticia Cervantes is here with us, as well as Yareni and Carmen Davenport, and we have a moment that is so important. I don't know why this keeps on going on, but I'm going to try my best to move on. It's so important to have our open as well. Yes, it is going back and forth. If we can
Okay.
We are live now. I'm sorry. We're sorry about that. Welcome, everybody, once again. We are very excited to begin this session of the Festival of Storytellers. I know we had a few ads popping up on your screen, and we just want to make sure that you stay with us. We have a very interesting hour coming up with our writers. We have Leticia Cervantes, Yareni, Carmen Davenport, and Amori, local bookstore owner. We're looking to promote and make sure that those bookstore owners who promote our books and our literature are open, and we want to invite you to support your local bookstore as well. This is an hour of Rhythm of Latin, exploring the vibrant beat of Latin writers and how important it is to have us bring something into the culture and keep that live, bringing literature for those who want to read in Spanish or read the cultural impact of our writers. So I just want to welcome everybody, and if you can just say hello and introduce yourselves. Yareni, why don't we start with you?
Yes, hey, my name is Yareni Beltran. I am the author of Building Bridges. I originally from Mexico, but I grew up in the United States, and I'm in the state of South Carolina.
Awesome, awesome. What about Leticia? Leticia, can you let us know a little bit about yourself? I know we have an hour, but let's hear something from you.
Yes, good morning. I'm Leticia Cervantes-Lopez. I was born in Mexico. I came to Los Angeles when I was 7 years old. And I'm still living in Los Angeles and writing about my experiences here.
Awesome. And Carmen, would you help us introducing yourself, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is Carmen Davenport. I am the author of Your Warrior's Dance. I actually is from the United States. I was born in the Bronx and I grew up in Queens. And currently I live in Florida. I've retired from the Marine Corps and this is where I live now.
Awesome. Welcome, Carmen. And what about Amori? Can you let us know a little bit about you, and have you helped the writers community through your years of experience as a bookstore owner? Amori, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
And you're also a writer as well, right? Why don't you help us and
Yes.
let us know who you are? Mm-hmm.
So, thank you for this opportunity again. I've been long, yes, and they have been a long journey for me and also, and I'm a writer. I have 168 book published already, and now writing pros of things I've been done for all these years. But also I opened the Beltran Cafe in Miami back in 2019 to help many writers, and painters, songwriters, and promote a little more the culture that we have. But I've been very nice working with that. Even when we stopped for a little while, I continue working, developing topics, things. I think we're gonna be back soon with everything again. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, Amori. All right. So this is what we want to do this hour is make sure that we speak a little bit about who we are and what we think about the Latin writing community and what we're doing for our culture. So the first thing that I wanted to ask everybody, and maybe we go around the table speaking about this, and I'm gonna say it in Spanish, but we're gonna also respond in English when Carmen comes around. And it is, how do you think, cómo creen que la literatura latina contribuye a la preservación de nuestra cultura y tradiciones? So how do you think that Latin literature contributes to the preservation of our culture and traditions? And when it comes to Carmen, and I'm gonna start with her, how do you were born in New York. How were you affected by the culture? Because I know that Latin culture in the Bronx is also high. In your interaction, did it affect you? Did it make an impact in any way in your life and in your writing? Do you have any experiences? And in your perspective as well, your culture, what is the importance of your contribution to literature? We're going to start with Carmen, and then we're going to go, vamos a ir con Leticia y con Yareni para tener un poco más de sentido en español. Go ahead, Carmen.
Time with the Hispanic culture, just from the area that I grew up in. And as a matter of fact, my best friend was actually Hispanic. And I have some Hispanic in my family. I'm not Hispanic, but I do have Hispanic members, within my family. I love the culture, and I think it's extremely important for the, just for other authors to see that books aren't only written in American, and I think that's prevalent, within other countries. You see that, but just being able to understand the Hispanic culture and see how it also creates an opportunity for all of us to take, to be able to learn, to be able to explore. A lot of people, especially for us within schools, we learned Spanish. We had the opportunity to learn Spanish in high school. A lot of our students had to take Spanish. I actually took Italian. I wanted to stay within that Romance language. But a lot of us had to learn Hispanic. We had to learn Spanish. So it was still good. And when I went to the book fair, my concern was, okay, we're in Mexico. I understand it's a international book fair, but there's still a lot of Hispanic who's going to be here. And I found myself having, some issues communicating, but I love the culture, and it brings a lot to the authorhood. You have kids who's going to read in their own culture, which is really good, but to be able to really learn about who the Hispanics are is really important to everybody. So
yes,
we love it. Yeah, it's important.
Definitely. And the point that you bring, Carmen, about in Mexico, we were all together in the International Book Fair with reader magnets. Yeah. And I was amazed to see the amount of people that are interested in literature, how many thousands of people came from Mexico, because you have some foreigners, but Mexican people were so involved and interested in literature that I was really amazed, and it touched my heart in the importance of just having a voice and saying something about whatever it is that you have to bring to the table, which I think everybody has something to share about. And that brings me to Yareni and her impression on what do you think literature contributes to the preservation of our culture and traditions? And maybe Yareni, if you want to answer in Spanish or Spanglish or English, whatever you feel like, let's just get your voice going.
Okay, so my name is Yareni Beltran, and I think we have a unique voice, for many people that we have grown, like I said, I was born in Mexico, but I grew up in the United States. So it's two different cultures, you know. In my house was one culture, and then in my schools and my friends, it's another different culture. So it's like you're in two different worlds, and I love both worlds, you know. And but it's like a mixture of, yes, culture and tradition. You know, my mom would, in my house, preserve a lot of the same, you know, cooking, and she would always talk about our the stories when she grew up and things like that. So um I would share that in school with friends and other colleagues and things. And then you know, I've thankfully I've always felt, you know, very proud of my culture. And I think it's very, you know, proud in a good way. You know, pride in your family values, and you know, and certain things that I grew up with that I think can contribute a lot to society.
Yareni, did you find in writing your book that you were putting into a lot of your traditions? And I found that I did. I am, even though my book is more spiritual and religious in nature, I find that my values as a Latina, as a Central American, are reflected in the book, in the literature. And but I don't know if you found that while you were writing, maybe you didn't mean to, but you were impregnated your book and your literature with your culture and your values.
Yes, yes, I think so. The introduction to my book is a lot about my those first few years growing up in Mexico, and then my adventure, you know, coming to the U.S. And I you know, as I've read it over, I was like, oh wow, it does have a lot of um a lot of my culture and ways, you know, of speaking and how do I portray myself.
Now with Carmen, and we're gonna go to her right now. She's a wonderful author. Her book Muñecas, I think, impacted every single one of us, and
Yes.
it is, you know, filled with culture and the cross of cultures, because she's a teacher here in the US, but she's so heavy on values. She is wonderful that you know, to hear what she has to say. In her book, Carmen includes a lot of poems. Some of them are hers, I believe. But Carmen, what are you bringing to the table as a Latina writer in literature? I know you're bringing poetry. I know you're bringing psychology. I know you're bringing self improvement, self love, and recovery. But we want to hear about you, and from you, who impacted you in your writing, in your style, and how has that impacted you in the way you write today?
Okay, you want me? I'm sorry, just making sure. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Carmen. Leticia, I meant Leticia. Carmen, I'm so
That's
sorry.
all. Okay, wait a minute.
I know. Leticia, I'm sorry. I was talking about your book.
Yes.
Muñecas, and going back to your question, the impact, and for me, it was a need to identify myself. I came to America when I was 7 years old, and I couldn't identify myself with language or culture or anything.
Mhm.
My only rescue and my fortress was my home and my cousins and my family. So I began to write and to find a way to express myself and to show my need. And my writing came focused on having my audience feel identified and feel that they have a voice and they're heard, and that somebody else is living the life in America that they have, that they are not alone. That was my goal, to teach that. Now, yes,
Mhm.
this particular book, Muñecas, is very personal because it deals with a personal tragedy. But at the same time, I felt people with tragedies needed to be identified, especially in our culture, who we don't really share with anybody, especially women. We take it, es ni modo, es lo que Dios quiso y vamos a seguir adelante. And inside you have that cry. So I decided that my cry would be the book. And I
Yeah.
found in writing it through poetry and chapters before it became a book, uh, audiences were drawn to it because I began giving workshops and things like that. And the audience was just so neat, so thirsty for things like this. Yes, there is writing like Garcia Marquez and literature in Spanish, but my audience is mostly simple people, people of gente del pueblo, gente que no necesariamente tiene voz, y parece que soy parte de esa cultura, soy parte y les doy voz. And so in the classroom, the students are also looking at culture, and they're also like Yareni, identifying and saying, oh, this is what I have at home. This is what I grew up with. I'm not alone. Of course, it's a different world from 1965 to 2024, but I saw the growth and the introduction of our culture and all the breakthroughs. So I'm lucky enough to have caught it all and write it and then be able to help other people like me. So yes, I'm immersed in culture, every page.
One of the questions that we have, Leticia, and from the audience is, ¿cómo utiliza un autor su libro para representar completamente su patrimonio cultural? Y lo voy a contestar basado en tu libro, porque realmente creo que has reflejado la totalidad de tu entorno y de tu patrimonio cultural desde lo que experimentaste aquí como un latino inmigrante, que creo que el latino inmigrante tiene su propia cultura, que adoptamos de todo lo que estamos tratando de vivir y sobrevivir, y luego lo uniste con tu experiencia en México y traer esos dos mundos y presentarlos a la audiencia de una manera tan efectiva. Creo que la manera en que un autor puede representar completamente su patrimonio cultural es simplemente usando las palabras como tú lo hiciste, Leticia, y como lo hizo también Yareni, y creo que también Carmen. Es tan palpable la experiencia que tú puedes realmente ver quién eres a través de cómo escribiste y cómo describiste tu cultura, no solamente de dónde vienes, sino que también tu cultura familiar. So I'll just jab a little bit at this in English. They were asking about how can an author completely share their cultural legacy in their book. And what I was sharing is about Leticia's book, how it really involves the culture as an immigrant Latino and also as a Mexican woman, and bringing the cultures of the Latinos, the immigrant Latinos, who need to survive and kind of absorb the best of both worlds, and then coming back home and being true to yourself and true to your legacy. I think that she did it very well. Carmen, I wanted to bring this question to you because it's speaking about if a Mexican author or Latin author has impacted your writing. And I wanted to kind of hear from you if you are familiar with the Latin writers, or if not, that's okay. Who has impacted you in your life, in your writing style? Carmen, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So, no, I'm not familiar with that award. However, I do believe that just with my culture as an African-American woman, I believe that I may have some of the same similarities as Hispanic women. We may have had some of the same type of struggles, some of the same type of upbringings. We weren't handed anything. We weren't giving anything. We don't have silver spoons for ourselves. We had to work hard for every single thing that we have. And that's something that I think we should be very proud of. It should be very proud of, because we can see the work that we put into everything that we're currently doing right now. For me, as far as culture, your warrior stance, a lot of that did come from just my background and growing up in New York, not having, a lot of luxuries that I do now, as well as my military career. So I did put a lot of that culture in there, a lot of those principles, a lot of, the things that I've learned while I was in the military within my books. But, I don't think we necessarily have to have the same culture to understand the struggles that we dealt with, so that's where I am. Yeah.
and it's so enriching. And I think that's when we share in Mexico, Guadalajara, because we were together and we're lucky enough to be together. And I think we
Yeah.
share from our books. And I think that we see the cross of values, family values, and family issues that you address as an African American woman, as a woman, which is a culture in itself, and then as Latinas. And we saw that blend that where a lot of the experiences that we share in common have the same issues, the same tears, the same laughter, the same values that we share within. So I think it's so important to just bring that out to the table when you're writing. I wanted to ask Amori this question. ¿Cómo pueden nuestros libros ayudar a vencer o a derrotar estereotipos sobre la comunidad latina? So the question is, how can our books as Latino writers help to break or bring down stereotypes over our Latino community? If you wanted to take a jab at that, and then we'll go around the table and then kind of answer that same question.
Like we just have to unmute.
Yes, we have to unmute. Amoni, you have to unmute your mic.
Really? Now you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank God. Finally. Okay. First, I want to thank you all of you and congratulations for all the beautiful history you lady have, and then I'm so happy to be part of it. First of all, I'm Cuban. First of all, let's start for it. And I left Cuba when I was 19 years old to Germany. I grew up basically, I developed myself in Germany. I've been in the United States for 26 years. So part of me in both worlds, modern Latins, but I have been always not forgetting my root. I've been working on all that. And first thing I think we as American, we had to come together in this point.
Yes.
Because not everybody had the same opportunity. And I tell you, I'm going to be a little more, I'm a little more difficult in that point because I'm more into the another stuff than I'm the poet and songwriter. But basically what I do is help more of the people put everything out like you lady are doing. I'm so happy to see that. And everybody has trouble in life. We have to put all this behind, and then we have to clean the air, we have to come back with the good stuff and like Carmen said, and everybody has problems in this life, but this is the beauty of it, this is the beauty of it, that we have to fight for it. We have to come forward and then, continue doing it. The question is, Beth, if you can repeat the question again, because I want to come back to the basics of the question.
Yes. Nuestros libros ayudar a desafiar y cambiar sobre la comunidad latina.
Okay, so we all can be agree, all the culture, all the people around the world, the reading, the people read is gonna be the great develop for them at all in all the meanings. If you don't read, you're gonna lack yourself with many things. But when you read, you explore all the senses. You will find out many things yourself. You're gonna start be more independent. You won't be more dependent on somebody think or do something for you to do it in order for you to do it. And that happened to me because I was born and raised in the countryside with no brothers, no sisters, no friends, nothing. Only my parents in the middle of nowhere, countryside. And I started reading the Bible when I was 6 years old. The Quixote, Don Quixote de la Mancha. I started reading. So when I was 9 years old, I already wrote this. I read all this book. So it was very, very easy for me to start using my imagination, being dependable. Since that moment, I started writing also. And this is my experience. So basically, one house without books is like an empty house, So we have something that give the fit our brain, I think the read is the more important thing. This is what for me is very important. The book keep going. We as a writer, we have to discompromise, and we have to continue doing it in writing, because if you lose this, you're gonna lose most of the. We are seeing it already. We are not blind about it, so we know already how many things we have been losing because we are more into the technology. We have all the tool in
Right.
the hand. If
Right.
people don't know nothing, people don't know geography, people don't know history, people don't know nothing.
Yeah.
But if you say Ricky Martin is gay, they're gonna Google it right away. All the gossip, all the thing that we don't need to find about it, you know.
Yeah.
So this is my point about it.
I
I'm
have a
sorry,
quick
I'm
question.
ready to things,
That's
but
all
you
right.
know,
I have a quick question here from one of the people in the audience is saying, ¿qué opinan ustedes? What do you think? What is your opinion over the state of the current state of literature, Latin literature in the United States? In how do you think we are rating? How many of us are there? Do we know any other Latin writers who reside in the U.S. and who are bringing books to the table? And that goes into how do you break into stereotypes as well, because as the more we write, the more of us are out there. I think people are going to see the great umbrella of our
Yes.
backgrounds. Yes. So what do you think? I'm going to go to Leticia on this. What do you think the state of Latin literature is in the US today, and how do we break stereotypes? Help me with that.
Well, I think we're at the beginning stage,
Yes.
especially the writing regarding the real issues like immigration and people of dual cultures. I think we're at the beginning stage because in writing and researching when I was writing, I couldn't find anything or much of anything that spoke about that other than little periodicals and little news reports. But I think we're at the beginning stage, and how that breaks the stereotype. Well, we're exposed to real stories, and making these stories real and genuine and touching will give the audience an idea of who we are. That we are not just people coming in to make gangs and steal and do things. That we are people with a soul and a purpose. And I
Right.
think we're just beginning. We're
Yeah,
just on the tip of beginning.
yeah.
I wanted to
I lost you.
Yeah, we
hello,
can't
are
hear
you
you.
there? Are we there yet now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, now
Yes,
I
we
can
can
hear
hear
you. Now I can
When
hear
we
you.
were in Mexico, one of the things that we said was that we were the Three Marias, right? And
you.
it's kind of funny and it's a joke, and we're okay with that. But I think that it's a stereotype. The Maria
Yes.
is a stereotype. But the fact that we're using it and we're accepting it is that how different we are from each other. I think Carmen has, from a teacher's perspective, from a Latina, from a generation where she had to struggle to get medical care, where she really felt that discrimination against her and the care for her. And then Yareni's experience and mine, our backgrounds, our education, the way we write is breaking a stereotype. Yes, we're Three Marias, and you can call us that, but come and find out how different and how alike we are to each other. I think that's part of the importance of relating to the way people perceive you, but then breaking their mindset once they get to know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what you think about that, Yanini.
Yes, I think it's important. Like when you know, people have asked me like, "What inspired you to write a book?" And I went back, to when I was in college and I was writing essays. And one time I wrote this essay, um, and I think uh, the introduction about myself moving into the U.S. I wrote in that essay, and I remember the professor saying, like, what are you doing in this college? You need to go to this university. He was seeing potential in me that I wasn't seeing in myself. And um and with a lot of the challenges that we've seen in the country and in the in the world, I was like, it's time to speak up. And I think one time, my book is a faith-based book, but it speaks about my challenges, like I said, growing up. And I think, giving a voice to others, I think it's like a domino effect. Once you start speaking up and people are like, oh, I'm not the only one that went through that, then there will be that you empower people to share their story, and see that it's, you expose yourself, and you it depends on what kind of book you want to write, but
Mhm.
you're putting yourself out there and then showing some of your your struggles, you could call it weaknesses, but most of all your story. And we all have a story,
Mhm.
to share, but it's when it's time to do the interviews and the question, and you have to be ready to share that story. So I think it's just when people are ready to share, their story.
That's right. I'm following up some of the points that the audience is putting on Facebook. We've read some of the questions, but I wanted to hear you some comments. And one of them says, we need more voices. Necesitamos más voces que hablen de nuestras vidas y experiencias. And to this, I want to bring this point in our points that we were going to touch is the educational value that the Latin literature has to bring into the table, and how many books of Latin writers are there in schools. But I wanted to bring it up a little bit further, because we speak about bringing Latino based books into U.S. schools, but I want us to be able to push our books to go into the schools of Latin America, because that also brings value, education, and literature from a different perspective. And I think that's something that we have to do. But I wanted to ask you guys, if you think that we need more voices and invite more voices, and what do you think is the educational value in your writing style, in your books, for the schools here and abroad? And maybe we can go back to Carmen on that question, because I think it's in general a question for the Latin culture, but also it can impact the African American culture in the voices that we need to have out there for our people.
It's And I believe it's extremely important for our young ones, for the ones that are coming up behind us, to be able to hear our stories. They have to understand that their culture means something, because when you come to the United States, unless you have your own culture, you really don't have a culture. That's one thing that African Americans have found ourselves dealing with for many years, was that we really had no clue what our culture was because of our, where we came from. So growing up in the United States is almost as if we had to learn how to be an American, but that still wasn't
Hmm.
our culture. So coming in with the Hispanic culture, that really shows people who you are. You have a culture, you have an identity. That's what's important, is to know you have an identity. Okay. We didn't really have an identity, and we're learning that now. So we're going through so many transitions, just trying to figure out who we are. But for you all, it's awesome. Okay. It's awesome to come in, for one, to write. Okay. Definitely write, because you still have youth who need to understand that, yes, you may be an American, but your foundation is Hispanic. So, let's make that clear, that you are Hispanic first and American second. You're always going to be Hispanic. American is just where we came to try to get this great life that has been spoken of for years. But I think for your culture is so important, because
Yes,
you're really showing who you are. They're learning that, okay, I'm not the only one who's going through these things.
Yes.
exactly.
They're
Exactly.
hearing from you. They're not hearing from the Americans who have lived a whole different lifestyle. They're really hearing from you, and you're also providing them with hope. So the same things that my culture has gone through, you're teaching that to your youth, and I think it's extraordinary. I think it's important. And never stop writing, because they need to know who they are, and they are
Amen.
Exactly. And
Our books are African American before we were American.
exactly. I think that that's one of the most important things that the African American community has been able to achieve, and something that we have to learn from.
Yeah.
And as Latinos, we all have, an old writer who we look up to and who we admire. But I think that every generation needs that bridge. Talking about bridges, and that's Yareni spoke. Her book is Bridges, Building Bridges, and I think that we all need authors who are bridges from one point to another.
Yeah.
And we are right now in great need of Latino writers, young Latino writers, people who have, both cultures. And you brought a beautiful point, Carmen, that we are American. Yes, we both served in the United States Army, and I think that being American is the point where we all come together to bring the best of who we are. But our backgrounds and our culture, who we were before we came here, and our people, who they were, brings the character of who we are. And I
Exactly.
found that my daughter was born here, and she told me, "Mom, I find so many of my friends who don't know where they come from. They don't have culture. They don't have, things that they do every once in a while during the year. They don't come together in the table." And I have that. I know who I am. I am Latina. My father's Nicaraguan. You're Guatemalan. I love your food. I love who I am. And I think that as more people write, more people will find their identity solid and will bring more to the table. Leticia, I want to hear from you about this.
Well, as a teacher, I just want to mention something that I've been seeing for maybe in the last 30 years, but it's fading away slowly. In as far as social history, some of my friends were punished for speaking Spanish at school, and because of that, they didn't teach their kids Spanish, and they took them away from the culture. It was shameful.
Yes.
It was something that they didn't want to identify with. So we lost a good 2, 3 generations. And so those children that you're talking about, they're probably from homes where they were, punished for speaking Spanish or shamed for learning about their culture. And, I remember even bringing a burrito to school or a taco to school. That was shameful. I had to hide myself. When in
Wow.
fact now burritos are
Mm.
served. But I do believe that there's a need for writers and a
Mhm.
bridge, like you mentioned. But I also think there's a need for people to buy the books. I hear, or to buy the stories. I hear a lot about we want writers, but I don't see it in the buy. Like I'm not just speaking for my book. I'm speaking for all the writers that have been doing this for a while now. The purchases are not going up. And I did hear that from my publisher. You have a great story. People are saying it's a great story, but the
Mhm.
sales of books are not up. So we need your support as readers as well. We will continue writing as long as we have support from
Yeah.
people to buy our stories. That's
But any about what Carmen is saying about sales going up in our books, because she's right. Not as many people are writing, are buying, are purchasing books. But I'm looking at some authors utilizing TikTok and other social media to bring excerpts of their books and platforms such as this one where we discuss what we're doing, and they're using that to bring people into. I know that I have purchased books that way, many books. By listening to them and talking about their books. Are you using social media to talk about your book? Do you foresee it? Do you think editorial houses should be bringing more of social media as a platform for authors to be able to bring their books out, and purchases or sales to go up?
I believe so because the world is changing.
Yeah.
Society and the way we learn things are changing. As a 60-year-old writer, I am not familiar with those
Yeah.
systems. And so I'm the old school way, but I believe that I do have to look into those new systems for our word to be out.
I think so. What about you, Yareni? Are you using social media?
Um, yes, I am using it social media. So, the title of my book is Building Bridges. So, uh, I've noticed, I'm like, why did I come up with that title? But then I'm like, well, I've been building bridges since I came to the US, because I've been in two different cultures. So I'm like, I'm always building bridges. And that includes with people that look different from me, Christians, from everybody. So I have been using social media, in the different ways to kind of show that that I really do live it out, and I think that's the way that I want to, and I have fun because I learn from other people. They learn from me and I learn from them, and we start to um find out when we share our stories that we have a lot of stuff in common, a lot of things. It's like when we went to Guadalajara and we were talking with Carmen, you know everything that we shared, it's just so beautiful when we connect. And I take it back to God. I think God made us to connect to other people, and that's the beauty of it. We were created to connect with humans.
Right. That's right. Talking
That's
about
right.
connections.
You're right.
Yes, Amori, you had a local bookstore, and I know that you had an impact during the COVID-19 situation that we had. Where do you see books and bookstores that they are there
You're breaking
online?
up.
But
I
what
couldn't
about
hear
the
you well.
small bookstore?
I couldn't hear you well, Bessie. Can you repeat
Um,
again because you're breaking up?
have you found? What do you think? It's a good point for us to bring sales up for Latin American authors and for all authors, for that matter. And are you using social media to bring your bookstore back into the scene?
Yes. All that you have been saying is very, very, very nice, very known. That's basically what I decided to open my own bookstore and cafe, Oasis Bookstore and Cafe, because I given the opportunity to all the writers, all the artists, not only writer, because we have painter, we have a singer, we have everything. This is what I made event every weekends, Friday and Saturday with different artists. They can do a presentation there. That we do it live all the time with the social media. We've been there with the radio, with the TV. Thank God I had all this connection here. In Miami, I created my own spot. I worked in the radio station before. I work in Telemundo. So I have a lot of things that, but basically, because that happened to me, all the history, I've been here, listen to all your history, that happened to me too. The only thing is what I think to myself, I say, what should I do to come out with something and instead to wait for somebody doing it? So I decided to do it myself. So this is what I did. So thanks to that, Reed Magnet contacted me too. So because nobody here was doing this thing. So basically then the culture died. You know what I mean? So, but come back to the point is that we have to come all everybody together in the same way. We have to help each other. We can do like, like you are this, you are that. We can do that, So we have to come together because in order to do that, we need to find identity, but also share with the world, to be
That's
ourselves
correct.
for that. So,
That's correct.
but with one point, that we're human, we have to be, live in the same country, but we have to be happy and move on. That's all I can say.
Right. Carmen, how are you using social media to bring your sales up? Is that helping you? How other ways are you exposing your book and that you can advise us on? Or what would you like to see out there being offered?
Well, this is something that I've learned. I have been using social media, but not so much to market my book because I do life coaching as well. However, I have learned the importance of social media in creating fan pages. It's important to create a fan page because when you create fan pages, then you get people who are you find your audience that way when you create a fan page. So if your fan page, for me, I can be since my title is Your Warrior Stance, I can look for or create a fan page and say women and men who are looking to build strength and confidence. Literally, and that can be the fan page. And then you'll start finding other people who's going to sign up for that fan page because they want to build strength and confidence, right? Then that's how you start selling your book. I haven't been using that, but that is something that literally I have taken classes on how to master, our sales on social media. And that was one of the suggestions. So, that's how we can do it. I think it's important to just get out in front of as many people, even for us just being to share each other, talk share each other. It's important to do that. But yeah.
Thank you, Carmen, for that. Awesome fan pages, everybody. I'm taking that and I'm using it. Thank you, Carmen.
Yes,
I wanted
yes.
to bring this point as we move forward. About 20 minutes into before we finish the session. But I wanted to ask, how has your experience been in the editorial world? What are you doing to publish your books? How have they helped you? What advice could you give to other writers who are looking out there to publish their books, because I think that many people have written books, but they really haven't gotten them published, or they don't have a publishing house behind them to kind of promote and get their book exposed in any way. What advice can everybody on the table give, to everybody? And maybe we keep it in a few sentences so that everybody gets a turn. And let's start with Yareni, please.
Okay. So the way that I've seen that other authors promote their book, um, it could be in random conversations, and having, cards with you. If just somebody asks you, what you do, you can share, whatever your job is, but you can also say I'm an author, and that opens the conversation, and then um, hand out a card. I think, when I came back from Mexico from the airport, I had a lot of business cards, and I wasn't thinking, but I wasn't thinking that way. But somebody asked me, so somebody asked me about my trip, like, why did I go to Mexico? So that was an opportunity for me to share. Oh, I went to a book fair, and then they asked me, why did you go to the book fair? And I'm like, oh, I wrote a book, and that was kind of like the first few interactions that I had, and I'm like, wow, it's a different title, it's a different reality of saying I wrote a book, and then that's an opportunity to share and say, if you would like to purchase the book, I gave them the business card, and if they're interested, they can go to the publishing page and Amazon and purchase it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I wanted to bring out, is that I think that all of us have our books at Amazon. I went to the Amazon platform and I published it there, but having the support of a house behind you in kind of designing the art, the business cards that portray you as an author, as a writer, I think that it's very, very important. I found it important for me. I'm used to kind of advertising or pushing other people into the platform, but for me it's very hard to kind of create an image for myself, and just
Right.
having professionals just saying this is the way you should look, this is the way you should portray your book. And in this, when I counted with the team from Readers Magnet, and that was a lot of help. It kind of gave me a direction of where to go and how to promote the book. So I think that for anybody who's out there looking to publish their book, it's very important to get a house behind you, or if you want to do it yourself to kind of save a little bit of money. Once you have it published, have a team behind you that is going to give you their perspective professionally, and kind of like not cold, but from outside, so that you are better portrayed out there. That's my input. Leticia, what do you think about that?
I agree with you 100%. I have a house behind me, which is has been somewhat helpful. I would not at this point recommend it. I am in search of a better one, but I did hear from Readers Magnet that they have that service.
Mhm.
But being my first book, I think it was a good support in terms of knowing what to do, the next step. They taught me step by step. And yes, it's important to share this. Sharing, when I was in Guadalajara, I was asking who were your publishers, and even John said, oh, these are possible ways. So the networking in Guadalajara and talking to other authors was very helpful, and it's one of the things that I got out of being in Guadalajara and learning from other authors, the publishing point of view.
Yeah, what about you, Carmen? What's your experience on this?
Well, this is actually, I'll say this is my second book. And basically, the first one was the first one was The Warrior's Dance. And then, I wasn't getting much feedback from that. And so I decided to republish. The first one I did self-publish. This one here, all of my content is still the same. For the most part, I did change some things, and I went through a publishing company, but I didn't get this exposure until I connected with Readers Magnet.
Correct.
And what I can say is, don't get caught up on the publishing aspect of this. The key is just start writing. Just start writing. You can self-publish. It's really not that difficult to get your book out there and to get it on Amazon. But don't get caught up on, especially finding, you may find some some publishers that are not legit. And I have received a list some time ago with a lot of publishers that weren't legit. So you really want to do your research. But I mean, if you're watching Reader's Magnet, then I'm gonna tell you that this is probably the place to work with. They have a lot of
Yes.
product. So just don't get caught up on how do I publish, how do I find an agent? Because while we were there was a lady who said, "Do I need an agent? Do I no? Just start. Just start."
Mm-hmm.
And
That's right.
everything. Yeah.
Yes, it is, as well as you, Carmen. This is my second book, and third, there is a devotional for the first book, and then one coming up. And I did it myself. But once it was published, finding the help and the platform with readers to be able to just get together with other authors and just get the voice out there of the book served tremendously. So yes, you're right. You got to be very cautious because you don't want to spend all of your resources on just getting it published. The most important thing is getting an audience that you probably already have in your church, in your community, in your school, in your job, and then getting the voice out there. So important. I don't know if Amori wants to bring something up. And after that, I would like everybody to share on their books because we're coming up in about 12 minutes or so of airtime. So Amori, can we get your input in editorial houses and what has been your experience and what advices you have for young writers or new writers?
Well, festival is great what you guys doing. Also with I agree with Carmen too. Once again, Reader Magnet is the best for now. I haven't seen. They are very professional. Whatever they promise you,
Yes.
they deliver it. So I agree 100% with you guys about it. You girls about it. So my first book was published in Dominican Republic, like in 1995, I don't remember correctly, poetry. So back in 2002, I started publishing in the United States my two first book, and then I did it all by myself. I did it in an old-fashioned way. So I publish myself. I do my own presentation. I do my research. But and then my godfather, and God has having the glory, is Guillermo Barejeda, the comedian, Cuban comedian. He became my godfather. So he did my first company, a publishing company. Since that moment on, I have been published all my books, and some people also have been published from them. So, but I've been a lot of work. I love what I do. It's my passion. I do a lot of research. I study a lot of. I speak six language, so it helped me. Most of the language I study is to help me to understand my own language and continue reading and writing and study Spanish. Because this is what I do.
Perfect.
Basically, the best thing is that. So you have to, if you can find somebody do it for yourself, you have to get knowledge about your language, and then you have to move forward, do it by yourself until you find somebody helping you.
Before we move on to the last part of our session, I wanted to just answer this question. What do you think makes the work of Latin American writers unique? And that's on our live Facebook transmission, right? And I think for me, it's the passion that, it's a quality of ours. Everything that we speak about, everything that we say about it's passionate. We have a lot of history behind it. We are very opinionated about things. And also the language itself, I find it that even if we're writing in English and we're Latino writers, the language permeates the English in a very romantic, in a very passionate way, and just the family values that are always, in very heavily imprinted in our writing. I think that's for me. But before we finish, I wanted to give everybody a chance to talk about their books, their works of literature. And I wanted to begin with Carmen, then we'll go with Leticia, and then with Amori, we'll go to Yareni. I'll finish up with that, and then we'll answer a couple of questions if we have more time. Carmen, I want to start with you.
Yes. Hi. Okay. Again, I'm the author of Your Warrior Stance. This is actually a workbook, so it's going to hold you accountable. There's affirmations in here. And what it really does is it's an acronym. So it's going to teach you how to have a strong and confident stance in any and everything that you do. It's going to help you find balance, work-life balance within your family, learn confidence, and learn strength. You can find it on Amazon, or you can go to my website, www.invincibleyoucoaching.com. But you could go to Amazon and get it. Easier to find it there. Okay, but very cool.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you. Now, Leticia, let's hear about your book and where they can find it.
Okay, my book is Muñecas, and it's available in Amazon. It's basically a memoir that takes me on a journey from the United States to Mexico, to a village in Mexico, and what I encounter, the beauty, the mystical side of human beings, basically, and the discovery of self. And so I highly recommend it. It's also in Spanish for readers, for Spanish readers. And the feedback that I've gotten is very positive, that they can't put the chapter down. So I highly recommend it. It took almost 30 years to write it. So there's a lot of value. Like Pastora said, there's a lot of time, hours, thinking, emotions that goes on these pages. So it's on Amazon, Muñecas.
Amori, can you share with us your work, your literature work, please?
Well, basically, I have the full work. I have, like I tell you, I have obras completas, how we call it in Spanish. It's already registered in Spain, academic. So you can Google me or look in Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere. It's already my books, in many platforms. Basically, I don't follow too much about it, but it's everywhere. So I'm Amaury Gonzalez Reyes. You can see me everywhere in Amazon and Google. You can see it. So I can talk about one book because I have 168, so I continue writing, so I can do that.
So we have a proliferate writer there that you can find all of his work. You can find him as Amaury Gonzalez Reyes, or how do you go by in your books as an author?
No, yes, Amaury Gonzalez Reyes.
Perfect. Okay. Now, Yareni, can you share with us about your work and where you can find it, where we can buy it?
Okay, so my book is in my living room, but you can see the title of my book behind me. It's called Building Bridges, and it's on Amazon. I think my my book, it's a short book, but I think it gives a powerful message, and I really encourage you. Not I encourage every single book, but I think even with the title, we can start building bridges with other people and other cultures, and step out out of our comfort zones and learn from each other.
Awesome, Yanni. And then about me, you can see the title of the book behind me, The Awakening of the Brave. We have a lot of chatter in the background, I'm sorry. The book is also in Spanish, El Despertar de los Valientes, and then we have Código Chail. Both books, actually 3 books, are in Amazon. You can find them there, purchase them from there. They are spiritual in nature, and how the Word of God can come and help us to overcome different challenges and to become our true version, the version that was designed by providence, by life, by God, for us to become.
Amen.
Yes, and I do hope that all of the work that the authors that are here can be of interest to you, and you can get it and share with others and support the Latino writers, the African American writers. I think literature in itself is important. We have to have books still be alive, and I think that we have something very important to share with you. We have about 4 minutes left in our transmission. I wanted to just take a minute and everybody to say goodbye to you, the audience, and then we will leave it up to readers so that they can share with you some ads and some advertisement that they want to share with you. For me, I want to say goodbye, then I'll go to Carmen, Leticia, Amori, and then finish up with Yareni. Thank you, everybody, for sharing this time with us. It's been a pleasure for me to share with this wonderful authors, and I look forward to more time, more writing. We have a project coming up together. We look forward to sharing that with you eventually. Carmen, I'll leave it up to you, and then the rest.
I thank you so much for having me. This was an awesome platform, and just continue to push forward, continue to write, and continue to get our stories out. Somebody's listening.
Thank you, Leticia.
Yes.
Sí, muchas gracias por dejarme compartir una historia valiosa de mi vida que estoy segura que hará cambios en su vida. Gracias.
Thank you, Amori.
Muchas gracias. Gracias por la oportunidad para Reading Magnet. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's a great company. I encourage everybody to go there and try to work with them. If you're the writer, if you need guidance, please do it and never give up your dream. Keep going, and then you can make it, okay? Les deseo muy buenas tardes. Gracias por atenderme aquí, okay? Muchas bendiciones. God bless America.
All right. Thank you, Yareni.
Sí, muchas gracias por su atención, por su, animamos a todas las personas que tienen, todos le digo, tenemos una historia que compartir, a salir de, del miedo y los prejuicios y salir y compartir nuestras historias, porque nuestras historias pueden inspirar y ayudar a otras personas, ¿ok? So, los animo a, a escribir, si son
Thank you,
latinos o
everybody.
cualquier.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Yareni, and everyone else. RM and Reader's
Gracias.
Minor, Alexis, we leave it out to you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Gracias, gracias.
Bye.
Yes, bye-bye.
Adiós.
Adios, bye.
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 Good night.
Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.